All right, welcome to the wow. We already have a lot of people on here. They must want to see you, Coach. Coach, we got a lot of people on the show right from the get go. We're here with Coach Seubert, NFL Super Bowl champion. When I went to, I brought my son to the preseason. What is it the Giants do in the preseason?
Like a meet and greet, right?
No, it was I think is it Giants Fest? I don't know. They had all the top guys, and I believe you were one of the guys that were as a part of that. And I was like, I know that I know that guy, but you know what my son's like? He's like, yeah, right. That's how you know how kids are, right? They don't believe it until they actually see it. But he's like, yeah, right.
I'm glad they did all the 100-year celebrations at the beginning of the season because it wouldn't be much fun going back there right now the way they're playing.
Oh, you're 100% right. That's right. They did it all. They did it that day, and then they did it in the first few games too, right?
Yeah, the first weekend pretty much they did it, and they got all that care of. So it was neat to see everybody, right? All my old teammates. I think on the top 100 list, when I counted them, I think I played with 26 guys on that list. So that was pretty cool to see.
You were fortunate enough, Coach, to play in a really good time period and had some really nice runs. I mean, Dave and I were just talking about it off air. Like that O-line that beat the Patriots was one of, in my eyes, one of the best O-lines in the history of the game itself across the board collectively. So you're very fortunate.
I was. I think I played for two pretty good coaches with Coach Fossil and Coach Coughlin. I had two really good offensive line coaches with Coach McNally and Coach Flaherty. Great teammates, great locker room, great offensive line guys. You know, we still bust chops to this day when we see each other on text messages, like we're little school kids making fun of each other. But special group. We loved each other. We loved playing for each other. We loved hanging out. We all have young kids, so our kids ain't young anymore, but we all had young kids.
At the time, like collectively, they were all within the same age range where you could kind of, hey, dude, we can do more.
Yeah. Right. And the ones that didn't have kids then, they have them now. So they're going through what we went through 20 years ago. So
you guys probably get a good chuckle out of that, right? You go through it, and now they have to go through it.
Listen, it's O'Hara, right? So O'Hara had kids later in life, and he'd always be like, hey, do you want to go out tonight? I'm like, dude, I got 2 kids or 3 kids. They wake up
those days are gone, brother.
So the last couple of years, Snee and I have been busting his chops saying, hey, let's go out and get a beer, you know?
Yeah.
So he's in the same boat as we are now. So the life circle, right, of having fun and enjoying it.
Yeah, no doubt. That's phenomenal. And obviously, you've been the high school head coach for Watchung Hills, really built up that program. What were some of the initial things that you really wanted to bring from your playing experiences, obviously being at such a high level, to Watchung? And by the way, it translated, obviously, because you guys have had a lot of really good success. You really built the program up. Talk a little bit about that.
I appreciate that. If you ever coach high school football, it's not easy, right? So I think I give more credit to my high school coaches now than I ever did when I played for them. I think going into Watchung Hills, the kids just need to believe in each other and believe in themselves. I don't think many people ever gave the Warriors a chance on the football field when I got there. And, I taught them how to believe in each other and believe in the team and play your guts out on a Friday night, right? And lifting it. I think once the season starts, the work's already done, right? The hay's in the barn, however you want to say it. I think the off season is very important. I know there's limitations in New Jersey and what you can and can't do, but being in the weight room and lifting as a team is very important, right? To build the chemistry. And the one thing, we have a lot of lacrosse players, like a lot of people do, and a lot of baseball kids and a lot of basketball kids. So working around kids' schedules, being flexible as a coach. Trust me, I was a three-sport athlete in high school, so I know it's not always football year-round. And did
we lose, Coach?
We might have lost him. I'm sure he'll bounce back.
I see him there, but he's blacked out right now. At the facility, I may not have the internet that.
Man, there's nothing like being up. You know what I mean? Doing those kind of things. But you understand, like, initially what he's talking about like where you build that chemistry in the off season, and it's difficult as a head coach to get your full team together when you're not, quote, in season, right? Guys are doing other things. Like he said, there's limitations for here in New Jersey with the amount of time and all of those kind of things that you can kind of have with your guys. And to create that within, the weight room and just those types of things, it's difficult to get your team together outside of the season. And we know when you get to those higher levels, that's really what it's all about. Like, your team is together all the time, whether you're lifting, whether you're working out, whether you're doing other things. It's hard in high school. Guys have other priorities. It's different seasons, right? Like, we've been in programs where guys got to work, right? Like those types of things. It's really hard to build that chemistry.
Yeah, there's no doubt. High school football team requires a lot of elements in order to build it up, and belief is what we started to talk about. I think is a big deal, like changing the mindset of going from whether you're middle of the road or not to becoming a really good program that wins. That's a lot of work at the to change it. Oh, we got Coach back here. So, hey, we thought you went out, Coach, and started hunting already.
Listen, I don't know what happened. I declined a phone call on my phone, and next thing I know, I can't hear nothing.
You're all right, Coach. You're all right. No problem. You were talking about belief in the weight room.
Yeah, it's just that's what it is, right? Just getting the kids to believe in each other and find a way to compete on Friday nights. And I think having a little bit of success goes a long ways in high school kids. And if they believe they can do it on the field, compete and be competitive. Obviously, you want to win every game, but those first couple of years I was coaching, we were getting roped out there, right, to the big boys in Union and Elizabeth. They're beating us by 30 or 40 points. And then we started playing them tough, and then we started to beat them. So it's a process. It takes time. I think it comes down to your senior class in high school. I think if you have a good group of seniors that bought in at a young age and worked their tails off when they're seniors, you're going to have a lot of guys competing and playing and competing for, starting time and playing on Friday nights, which helps. The more kids you can get on the field, the better, in my mind.
I'm curious, Coach. Obviously, having played high school ball yourself in Wisconsin versus playing in coaching in New Jersey, what are like some of the similarities you see, across the board from where you grew up versus in those two states versus versus the differences?
I don't know if people in Wisconsin are watching, but I truly believe Jersey football is better than Wisconsin football.
Right.
My parents come out. I have friends that come out to watch some of our games, and they say the game is faster, a little more physical. But then I watched the Wisconsin State Championships this last weekend online and stuff because one of my buddies coaches at high school that they're like 13-time state champs. They're good, but I just think we're a little faster. I think our kids are a little more developed out here, and the game's a little faster. So, but playing it, coaching it, it's still football, right? The biggest thing that over the years is the hitting and the contact and the tackling. Shit, I remember when I was a kid, right? Like, you'd be nutcrackers and Oklahoma drills pretty much every day, twice a day.
Every day.
Like, if you want to have a 2-a-day, you didn't have to wait 6 hours to let the kids rest. But we have to adapt. We have to adjust. And you got to find ways to get the most work out of your time. And I think social media, huddle, my coaches in high school had to probably drive 20 minutes to get the film exchange. So it's just easier now than back then.
I think that's a huge thing that's changed. The technology has been very, very obviously helpful to coaches to be able to get things done quicker, faster, be able to get more information to the players. And I've seen, like, we talked about it a couple times, like the Indiana coach, practice like an hour and 40 minutes. He's done, at the college level. Some high schools are starting to adopt similar philosophies, like, work fast, get things done. And so you don't kind of lose the interest. Is as everything evolves, obviously tackling is obviously, like you just talked about, very, very different. What are some of the things that you kind of have really tried to, adapt within your program to kind of adapt to the times?
I think, like you said, I think the shorter the better, right? I think even me as a coach, right after 2 hours, my ADD kicks in and I start losing focus. But if you can be detailed as a coach and have everything scripted and get out there and get your work in and get them off the field and get them back into the meeting room or watching film or stuff like that, right? I think with huddle or whatever you use and the end zone copy and the sideline copy, I think the kids learning the game of football is a big step of it. I don't know how much football I watched as a high school kid back in the 90s, right? So I think if you can watch,
you didn't have the opportunity to do it. Right? Like there was only one game on, right? Now you're seeing games, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, and we're not talking one or two. You're talking a slew of games. Like these guys, or if they can't see it, they'll just go on, whatever, pull it up, and it's like, hey, here you go. And look, I don't think I ever saw a tight shot until I was in college, right? Like now high schools are like, hey, man, here's the tight shot. Here's the drone shot. Here's this shot. You're like, I got 50,000 camera angles on my phone, and you know what I mean? Like there's just more for them to access.
That's it, right? And the more you can give them, the better. I wish they'd make it mandated where you have to exchange the end zone copy. I think
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
Get an offensive lineman and coaching the offense.
Come on.
Like you can't coach shit from that sideline copy, right? Like you need
one tech, 3 tech, 5 tech. Bro, I don't know where he's at. They all look the same, right? And there should also, I feel like there should also be some level of like some of the tapes you get, you're like, whoa, buddy, like what are we looking at here? Like it's like not even worth it. Just throw it away. We'll figure it out from wherever. But that tight shot and the drone stuff, like wow, like.
Drones are awesome. We finally got one for practice, and I'm like, oh my god, I should have had this 10 years ago.
Yeah,
the drone is great. Now we have to find a way to get the drone synced in with huddle.
100%.
So automatically just feed it right on, so you don't have to do it.
There you go.
Bingo. There's your homework for next year, right? Try to get drones compatible to huddle.
Yeah, and I think that might be actually huddle having to be able to build some sort of API to be able to get it to import and be able to then to be
probably have it already. They're just holding it to roll it out so when they can make the most, Father.
Well, I think the sync it
on your iPad. That'd be great, right? If you can see the drone image on the sideline during a game, oh my gosh, game changer.
Oh, yep. Absolutely. Well, I hope eventually everyone just does. To me, if they just do where you could actually talk to your quarterback or talk to your middle linebacker, in high school, and it's going to come because what they started, what they're starting to do there, it's just going to eventually get to there. And the other thing I thought was a great innovation, it was done for the deaf teams for Gallaudet, is but there's going to be different forms of it. I don't know exactly what the winner will be, but the ability, honestly, I know, look. You're probably a little bit old school. I'm a little old school, like teaching and all the kind of stuff in football. But the kids' attention spans are different, and I like the idea of them being able to see like what you almost see now, and like flag. Hey, have the plays right up there. They understand their assignments. They know what they're supposed to do, and you're coaching them on technique in practice. You're coaching them on how they're supposed to do things, and they're not trying to spend all their time figuring out. The name of the play and where that play goes because of the name of the play, right? Like, and I think I think that has to. Gallaudet does it where they just have, because obviously they're deaf and they have the little window that comes down that has the play right on there, and then they're able to go right off of that. And I think those evolutions will continue to come. How it exactly looks, I'm not exactly sure, but I think those things are good because then we could spend a lot of time. First of all, you could do more scheme-wise. I really think you could do more scheme-wise. And you're teaching them what you're picking up, like for a lineman, okay, what your rules are, what you have to pick up, what type of blocking you have to be able to do, and, your double teams, stuff like that, instead of always having to get them to remember that this play goes here. Because there are some kids that are really great at it. Some kids that could be really good players. It struggles, and you kind of slow down a little bit by that. If you're able to know where the play is going, know it, and focus on the technique and what you actually have to do, I think you can now focus on actually coaching them on what they have to do technique-wise, especially position-wise, and getting them much better at that, and as opposed to pure memorization. You know what I mean?
I think talking to the quarterback would be huge, right? Not having a single in your plays or yell out numbers or bring them over to the sideline. I think I think baseball, right? Baseball, they did it. The catchers and the pitchers can have whatever.
Yep. On the wrist and calling plays and doing all that other kind of stuff. Calling pitches, I should say.
A quarterback and a linebacker before they would have done baseball. But we'll see. Like you said, I think the more technology, the better. And I get it, right? Like we all coached O-line before, right? Or we all about it. Like one kid don't know what they're doing, the play don't work. So
right.
Four kids might understand how to block down, but that fifth kid might have to be told, a little arrow going to the left or something. But
yeah, that's what I think. I think you could actually focus on teaching those elements of it, because some of the kids that you could have a kid that's actually talented, right?
And he just can't get it.
Hard time remembering to play. He has a hard time remembering what to do, and if there's a way for him, obviously, to be communicated a little bit easier or see it, right? Because everybody's different. Like, a lot of these kids now, because they play Madden.
Visual, man.
They're so visual. They're so visual, It's not natural for them to memorize.
I mean, look, Dave, we all played with even guys in college, right? Like, I can remember, man, he'd be a really good player, but I can't play him because he just doesn't, right? He might get it for a couple, but then he has that little blip or whatever. And it's like, that would just erase all of that. And now, because I'm a big, when you're thinking, you're slower. You know what I mean? So if now you can eliminate that having to think about it and just, okay, here, even if it's, hey, that guy may never look at it because he knows it, but just knowing it's there may take him to that next level where now everybody's cooking.
That's true, man.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. This year, last year, you playoff teams. I know last year you guys made a deep run, right? And I think, yeah, exactly. And when you have your better teams versus a team that's good, and as you kind of you're figuring out the evolution of your own program, what are some of the traits that you're looking to instill in your players that you think the better teams are getting, and then the teams behind that aren't? Obviously athleticism and having athletes is always obviously the number one thing you have to have. But what are some of the things that you think you're starting to see in teams that are going to higher levels versus a team maybe that loses in the playoffs in the first round or something like that? What are you seeing?
I still think it's athletes. I think athletes make a big difference in football, because every kid could be tough. Every kid can be smart, but if you got a couple of kids in your team that are faster than everybody, it's tough, right? You could. I think the last couple of years we played pretty good defense. Joey Tremarco's our D coordinator, and our defense has been tough the last couple of years. But you play against those teams where a busted play can go for a touchdown because the kid's faster than everybody else. I think that helps. But scheme,
yeah, I think
right?
So.
Toughness, but speed, man. Speed kills.
It's interesting hearing that from an offensive line guy as well, too, right? Because everybody thinks oh, let's pound it, let's do this, let's do that. But when you hear that from an offensive line guy, it don't matter what we kind of do up here. If you're fast, it's over, right? So that's a little bit of a different take on it.
We played Somerville last game of the season. They beat us by 30 or 40, more than 30 because the clock was running, by 40. That running back they got, he's special, right? He's fast, he hits the hole, he's tough. He's a one in a lifetime guys that you have in your high school team. He makes a difference. There's game changers. They have a receiver going to the Shire kid going to Princeton, right? Fast, smart, physical receiver. But they're fast, and it was tough because who do you stop, right? Do you stop their quarterback and the receivers, or you try to stop the run and you're weak on the poison? Pick your poison. Either poison's pretty good.
Yeah.
But, and you have your old traditional wing T teams that are always good. They always make runs in the playoffs because it's New Jersey and the weather gets shitty at the end of the year, right? So you have to be able to run the ball. Because sooner or later you're not going to be able to throw it, right? In November, like last Friday.
Weather gets look, half the states having snow and half the states, rain, whatever. And Dave, we've talked about that, right? When it gets late in the season and it starts to get cold, if you can't run the football, control the clock, and do those types of things, I mean, look, you look at the teams that are still playing traditionally for what they are. They're going to run the ball, play good defense. You know, that's the type of teams that win, at least here in Jersey, because like you said, coach, the weather gets shitty. Nobody wants to freaking hit in when it's cold, like hell no. And it's kind of part of it, you know? And I mean, we're finished up now. Florida's still got, 2 more games, 3 more games to go. Like they could give a shit less. They'll play till Christmas down there, dude. Like it's wild.
Yeah, it's you need to run the football. Like if you look at Group 5, right? You have Union City and Tom's River North. You can get to see Tom's River North play, but I imagine they run the football though. Union City runs the football. We all know that. So
I mean, they chuck it a little bit. Union City, Wilbur, he's out there going wing tee, old school, old freaking eye power into it. Although I have seen him throw more than he ever has, but again, defense. Like he has an enormous amount of shutouts on his within his game. I mean, you guys railed off shutouts like 3 in a row. You know what I mean? I mean, you gave up 24 points in the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just 6 games, 7 games. Like it's defense. Defense, that's what stuff goes. Run the ball, control the clock. That's New Jersey. I would imagine that's kind of Wisconsin as well.
I think that's everywhere. I think that's what the NFL needs to get back to, right? Control the football. Don't turn it over. Play good defense. Right.
And Dave, we've talked about it. We're starting to see that more, right? Like you're seeing fullbacks again, like
fullback, tight end, run the football. Because
Michigan said it last year, right? When they won a national championship, running the ball. And I think teams, Dave and I have talked about it. I mean, I've said it for a long time. Guys are now recruiting defenses to stop the pass. And like you said, tackling has been kind of, I don't want to say taken out of the game, but it's not the emphasis, right? Like you're not seeing highlights on ESPN where there's an entire segment of people just getting blasted. That doesn't happen anymore. That's not the game anymore. Everybody went to the spread offenses. Now you have to recruit different defensively. Now, if you flip that switch and start running the ball coming downhill all the time, and look, we just had, Jerry Seymour, who's a really, high level running backs coach down in South Florida. The first thing he talked about was, I teach my guys get north and south right now, like vertical. That's it. Downhill, coming at guys because defenses just aren't equipped to handle that anymore. How many times do you see 3 true linebackers on the field for all three downs? It's not what it was. But you now see it starting to come back a little bit. Fullbacks, true tight ends again, like not, Jimmy Grahams of the world or those pass catchers, right? Guys are coming back in and getting attached. I think it's something that's like, it's interesting to see how it evolves, through the years of, hey, it used to be this, now it's this, now it's coming back to or developing into this. And if you don't change with those times as far as a coach and adapt to what your players are really good at, I think you're kind of paddling upstream.
Yeah, it's just the football keeps evolving, right? That's the game of football. Offenses do something, defenses change, offenses change back, and the defenses change back. I think that's kind of the way it rolls. But I love gap scheme football, right? Power trap, counter. If you have the right, and if you have the right team, you can do it. You need a tight end, you need a fullback. We don't always have that, so we always can't do that, but we try. We try our hardest.
Well, I think that part doesn't go away, and 100% with the coolest thing about football is how the continuous evolution of what happens. Like when all of a sudden the spread and the air raid becomes a big thing, and now the defenses combat it by putting all these fast guys on the field, and then now coaches are starting to realize, okay, they're gonna have all these fast guys on the field. You have exactly what you said: tight end, fullback, tailback in there, and come downhill with a gap scheme. And if you have the guys to do it, they're not gonna have answers because they're constantly trying to put faster guys on the field. And if you got a running back that can go to the end zone now, it's like you could score points even faster than you can running the spread offense with incompletions. So. It's very, very interesting. So as far as what do you guys run a primarily scheme? Is that your primary scheme as far as offensively?
It is. We're a mix and match. I will literally dictate what we run based on our kids every year. We were lucky. I had Chad Martini as a quarterback for 4 years, and then Alex Sikowski came to me for his senior year.
Yes.
His father, so I got lucky, right? I had a good run of quarterbacks there for a while where I could do a lot of stuff because I had smart kids that could throw the ball. Now looking at the program, we don't have, per se, a true quarterback, so we're gonna have to adjust, right? What is that? Like you can say wing T, you can say triple, you can say spread. It's all the same shit, right? Like I might call it 36 power, you might call it gap on, whatever. So football's football. We will find what works the best over the course of like the first month of the summer with the kids that we have and how they grow and how they develop, and maybe some kid moves to town, maybe not. But we'll see what we got, and we'll have to make a decision like by middle of July, right, on what we're going to lean towards. Which the thing that we're not going to be able to throw the ball 80 times this year. We never threw the ball 80 times, even with Chad or Alex. But if we had to, we could have with them.
Right.
But we'll try to find out what works. And our kids, I'll tell you what, I truly believe the kids I coach are pretty smart. They're smart kids. They like to learn the game of football. They like to watch the film. They like to study. I don't teach, so I go to the school a lot, and at lunchtime, I sit in our offensive coordinator's room, and a lot of the kids come in, and we just watch like the games, our games, other games. We just watch just the sport of football. Like I don't think they got to watch themselves play. I think watching yourselves play is probably the worst thing to do because all they're doing is watching themselves. So we like to watch other high schools, right? And like the better high schools, the better offenses, the better defenses, and watch those guys play and find a way to. And you might be able to find a play or find out what they're doing, see what works against this defense. It's a copycat. We used to say it's a copycat league in the NFL, but it's a copycat in high school, right? If you see something that works on tape, you're like, damn, we got to put that in. Let's see if we can get that play going.
Right.
No,
and again, with the access to seeing all this stuff, right? Sorry, Dave, I'm going to cut you off. The access to it, they can go to YouTube and watch anything they want.
They can watch whatever they want, and I think the kids that want to be good, like the kids that want to play college football, like the kids that actually love the game of football and want to play in college, that's what they do, right? They watch the game, they study the game, they watch NFL, they watch college, they watch other high schools. They eat, sleep, and breathe football like we did when we were kids. And then you have all those other kids that just like to be part of the team and they just want to play high school, and that's fine because there's a place for everybody. But
100%.
You always want more of those kids that want to play college ball because they're fighting for something.
Right. They're right. Exactly right. They're fighting for something more. They're trying to put something down on tape. They want to make sure that it look good, that they're doing a great job, that people, respect what they're doing. Recruiting, which I guess is a good transition here. Recruiting is a completely different ball game now with transfer portal, NIL. There's stories all over the place of, and now now the roster changes where it's going to go to 105 at Division I level, which is going to evolve things a lot. You have lots of instances of kids that were superstars at Division III now jumping level or two, right? In some cases, all the way up to Division I. Obviously, you have lateral transfers and all those kind of things. But ultimately, the biggest group that's affected, okay, is not that group. The group that's already there, whether Division III or Division I, if they do well, they're going to have a place to go, right? It's high school. High school is severely affected, and me and Derek too, including this. We always laugh when they like to say, high school's not affected. High school's not affected. It's obviously affected, and it's affected at because we'll interview college coaches and they'll say it's not affected. It's not affected that much, but the truth is it's 100% affected. Roster changes and roster limitations at Division I level pushes a lot of those kids who are currently on rosters down levels or to other teams, which pushes high school recruitment out because you're always going to, I don't care what anyone says, if you can find a kid that's this talent level, that's 22, and another kid or choose a kid that's 18 at this talent level, you're choosing 22 because it's your job that's on the line. You're actually paid a full-time wage because of the fact that you have guys that can play football, right? So what are you seeing? And feel free to talk about it to your own desire if you feel frustrated with at all the system, or you think it's the system's fine. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Recruiting sucks. Let's be honest. For a high school kid, like you said, it's tough. I think the 6-year kids are just about done now, right? The COVID year guys are going to be going out, so you're not going to have to worry about that.
This is the last year of
but the transfer portal, yeah, it's going to be wiped. So that's gonna help the high school kid a little bit moving forward. But I tell my kids, right, like let's take away the 5% of the Division I kids. Those kids are easy because those kids are going to find a place. It's the kids that I coach that are like D3, D2 kids that got to find a home, and like it's tough, right? There's like you go to a D3 football program, how many kids they have on their roster? They have a lot of kids, right? 130 kids on the roster and a lot of spots, and you got to find the right place, and you want to play, and you got to find the right home. And if you're a coach, do you take a kid that could plug and play or a kid that you got to develop, right? Like if I'm coaching college football, I'm taking a plug and play kid. Like you said, your job's on the line. So it is harder for the high school kid. And I think if a high school kid finds a place that they like and they like the coach, they should just go and be happy, right? Like this whole chasing something that's not going to be there, it just kills the kid because then like you don't have what I realize you don't have forever to make your decision.
No.
Right? Coach be like, hey, you want to come? I got a kid coming in next week. If he says yes, you're out. So
that's exactly it.
Pressure, and it sucks because it's competition, right? So it's tough, and you try to tell these kids, if you like it there, you like the coaches, go, be done. Be done with your head and just go there and be happy and play. And guess what? I hate to say it, but in 2 years, you don't like it, you can transfer, right? Which I'm not a fan of the new transfer portal. I'm not. When I went to West Illinois as 1AA, we had a lot of transfers come in, but they all transferred down, right? They're all 1A kids coming down to 1AA. And if you're a 1AA kid, if you didn't want to sit, you went down to D2. And if you want to go up, great. Because I think it's easier. The most of the 1AA coaches that I've talked to, they'd rather go take a D2 kid that's playing their ass off than then that kid from Rutgers or Penn State that's never played, right?
Correct.
Let's be honest. The kids that transfer from the big schools, they don't play, so they want to transfer down and play. But go back to the way it was. Transfer down, don't sit out. If you transfer like this, can you imagine developing a kid for 3 years, grooming him to be,
and then he leaves.
And then he leaves because some other school says they can give you $1 million or 200 grand. Money.
How do you function in that world? Like I don't understand. Like nice. And it's dude, I just couldn't imagine putting all like, man, when you're a senior, right? Like, hey, you see him develop every year. Like, yeah, he gets on the field, he makes the play. Hey, coach, like, thanks for everything, but I'm out.
Yeah, Georgia wants me, and they're going to give me 300 grand. Like, come on. Like that lineman that went to Iowa, and then from Iowa he went back to wherever. I'm like, that's crazy. Like the money, like I get it. Like if I was in college, I'd want to get paid too. But find a way to make it where you have to graduate or play 3 years for that team before you get a dime, right? Hey, your junior year, this is what you get, not your freshman year. I don't know what.
And we and coach, we've talked about like how to like fix this thing and like whatever. And we've talked to a lot of guys that have like a lot of, you know what I mean? Like you're talking high level guys that are like, hey, if you just did this, and this, we'd be good, right? And it's that whole like it's the same kind of in the NFL, right? Where that number 1 overall pick used to get a bag before he did anything in the NFL, right? And that was like that kind of went away a little bit. But now you're seeing it in college. Like these kids are literally getting an amount of money that they've never seen or anything in their life. And most of them don't have the financial literacy to understand what's the whole process to it, where now you're adding guys to staffs or, people around the program that now need to handle this individually. Like there's an entire other part of college football now that has like very little to do with the X's and O's and actual football. It is now becoming a business. And Dave and I talk about this all the time. The NFL is just now trickling down to college where now you have college GMs.
That's what they're going to have scouting departments and GMs. And because if you're a head coach, are you actually coaching or are you recruiting all day long? Like, I don't know what they do, but I don't think how can you coach when you're recruiting every day of the week?
Every hour. I mean,
Every
you with the access with phones and all that stuff, like coaching football is now 365, 24 hours a day. Like if you're not coaching guys on Sunday or like recruiting, I mean, recruiting guys on Sundays, somebody else is. So, and you kind of look at, like the Dabo Sweeneys that were kind of like, we're not doing it that way, we're whatever. Where are they at? Like,
well, I remember when, it's funny because when Randy Edsel was at UConn the first time, and I remember this because that's why I played college ball at UConn. And when he complained about the texting rule, like allowing people to text, when texting started to become big, like in 2000, like 7, 8 or whatever, and he complained about it, and they kind of like had a temporary, like they had some rules in there that eventually obviously went away. But I remember thinking that, like, man, there's going to come a point where Randy, just the way he thinks, and he was a great coach. When he came around the second time to UConn, that part, like, because the fact that you could do everything, he was trying to keep it controlled for coaches so their world wasn't as crazy. But when he came back around the second time, he was just like, it was impossible, and he wasn't even there the second time when the transfer portal wasn't even a thing yet. And the NIL wasn't even a thing. And I'll leave another interesting thing. So like when you pay, for example, a quarterback, okay, maybe not all the other positions, but we pay a quarterback or a star receiver, you're going to have to start him. There's no such thing as like you pay this, all of a sudden he doesn't perform. You're up shit's creek. I mean, you pay this guy X amount of dollars. He's coming there with the expectation of starting. Okay. And if you don't start him, you got the fan bases that are going to try and throw you out. Forget your own administration, or you know what I mean? They're going to gather up against you. And we've seen it happen at UConn, where the guy who is really, even though the team's been very good this year, the kid who's probably the better player is the transfer from Maine. And and the other kid who's a great kid, the other kid who came from Wisconsin is they paid him and he's done okay, but the other kid is probably better. And so they're in this battle, like, because I just see it on the, all of us talking, and the coaches have to figure, they're in that own battle. Like, if we don't play this kid who we brought in, we gave NIL money to, and we don't play him, and he no longer is a starter, we know he's gone, and he's younger, right? So he's younger. We got the kid who's probably better, which is the senior to transfer from Maine, but he's not paid. Like, so you get these weird things that you don't like. There's no cut. Yes, there's cutting. You don't have to, renew his scholarship, or he transfers out. That's essentially like a form of cutting, but it's not like the NFL where you have the waiver wire and you have this. So it just makes it so much more convoluted, because within your own games, week to week, you may not be able to actually do what's best for your team, or you really have to have guts as a coach to do it. You know what I mean? It requires a certain level of guts to make that decision, knowing that your kid that you paid, it could be your quarterback for the next 2 years because he's younger. Okay. But right now he's not as good as the older guy. Like, it's just a really, really messed up dynamic. Right. And how do you have that conversation? You're doing well, but right now this guy's better than you, but we think that you're going to be the guy, so to me,
it's a conundrum.
You're going to easily see teams go like what's happened to
Florida State.
10-0 or whatever they were, 11-1 or 12, whatever they were, and then next year 1 win. I think you're going to see that quite often, more and more, because 1 year you figure it out, you get it all right, and the next year you don't.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to coach college football right now. I think
hell no.
Listen, the only kid because I know his uncle, Arch Manning, right?
Right.
Like, he's the guy. I think he's the guy. He knows it. He's waiting his turn. He's going to get his turn. He's going to be the guy. These kids want to play like instantly, but maybe you're
It's the
not ready.
rarity. He's the rarity.
Freshman comes in, gets all this money to come in as a freshman, but you're not. It's hard to play as a freshman. It's hard. I don't care if you're a freshman in high school, a freshman in college, or a rookie in the NFL. It's not easy, right? Learning for a year is not the worst thing in the world. Like, take your money, be happy, learn for a year, and go play your ass off.
It's just ego. That's what it comes down to, like misplaced ego.
Like, use that to fuel you to get to fight and try and get better. Like, it's just so, and you start to see it now, right? Like your Alabamas of the world, that guy who we already know is going to be an All-American, but he's sitting behind another All-American until his turn comes, is now going to bounce and leave and go to a Tulane because they can give him a bag and he can play now. Like, the whole, like, wait my turn and then go win a title if we're all here, right? Like, nope, sorry, I'm not willing to jump on a special team for 2 years because, I'm the guy and I need to be in that spotlight, or, it's about my draft status rather than like, let's go win a national championship. I think that's something that's just so different, like sacrificing for your team and those types of things. And you see it trickle down a little bit into high school, but that's mostly like off the field moms and dads pushing an issue, whereas the player himself still wants to play this game. They're just being told, and it's unfortunate that that's what they see on social media. That's what we all talk about. That's what it is. Like, how about like, just here's the process, trust it, you'll get there. But you need to be a little patient right now. Go learn some more things so that when you are that guy, you're better. It's difficult. And Coach, I know like you just kind of went through this whole thing with your son in terms of the recruiting and all of that kind of stuff. And it's changed even since then. It's just, it's different, man.
Listen, my kid is like, he's just like any other kid, right? He wanted to play big time football, but he was undersized. I love him to death. Hell of a football player. He could play center, play guard, whatever. But he's 6 foot tall, right? So he's short. So he did I want to go walk on at a big school to see if I can do it. So he walked on at Rutgers, which is great. He had a great experience. He went there for a semester, and then he transferred to ESU. He ended up starting at left guard for ESU this year. And he's a kid. And if he wasn't my kid, I coached him too. So like, he needs to play to have fun. Like, he's not a kid where he's not going to play for 4 years because he's at a school where he's not going to play at. Now, he'd been fine if he would have sat 2 years at Rutgers and played his junior year, he would have been happy with that. But he never would have played there. He wasn't big enough. So he wanted to play. He made the right decision, and he's having a blast. But I think every kid sometimes has to figure that out themselves. You know what I mean?
Coach, I'm with you. And kudos for you of how you manage that whole situation, because that can be tough. And I did the same. I transferred down, different type of situation. But sometimes you got to learn it by going through the fire, right?
Listen, when I came out of high school a long time ago, totally different, right? Like, nobody offered me but Western Illinois. I didn't have any choices.
Yeah.
Right. But when Western said, hey, come down for a visit, we'll give you a scholarship. I'm like, okay, where's Western Illinois? I didn't even know where it was. Like, it was Macomb, Illinois. I've never even heard of the school, because back then, like, they weren't on TV. They weren't on ESPN Plus. There was no social media. So I go down there, right? The older guys got me drunk, right?
Yeah.
Hung with the guys at the bar. I said, I love this place. Like,
That's right.
And I had a blast, right? I played tight end. I played guard. I played tackle. I had a blast. I didn't know I was going to play in the NFL. Like, I still didn't know I was going to play in the NFL to this day. But I enjoyed my teammates. It was football. We had good teams. We competed. And the rest is rest, right? Like, school's school. Football's football. Go somewhere, enjoy it, have fun, and play.
And that's kind of one of the things I tell these
it.
kids too. Like, it's about your overall experience, right? Like, it used to be, all right, like, hey, figure out what you want to do, what's your major, all those kind of things, find the right fit. But like, there's like little things like, buddy, do you want to go to a big school or a small school? Do you want to go where it's cold or warm? Do you want to be within driving distance of your parents so they can come see every game? Or do you want to play it? You know what I mean? Like, there's other things. Yes, football takes up the majority of your time, but those other things around that, dude, have a college experience. Like, enjoy that. Stop. Like, be like, that's important.
Yeah, it is. And because it goes quick, right? And it goes way too quick. And when those 4 years are up, right, your real life starts.
Oh, damn. Like, oh, damn. Like, what am I going to do? Like,
what am I going to do
August, you're not putting a helmet on anymore, buddy. That's a very difficult adjustment, having to not have that structure of, come August, I'm putting a helmet on. Since you were second grade, third grade for most of these kids, or some of these, at least a lot of these guys, like, that's a realization of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to fill this time? Like, damn, like, I can go on vacation in September. The water's still warm down the shore here. It's awesome, dude. Like we don't know any different, right? Because look, we're the ones that are like, look, we can't get out of it. We'll just coach. Like, but that was other things. There's just a lot of more factors into this entire decision. And it's no longer like, hey man, this is a 4-year decision. Dude, this could be like you said, a semester decision. And now I go somewhere else.
It could be, even though I'm not a big fan of the transferring, but it could be, right? Yeah. And when it's over, you coach, you become an official, right?
Yep.
Like that's
and we need some of those. At least we'd be guys that would
yes.
We've had some on. We're like, dude, we gotta
ones.
rally the troops here, dude. Like, I can't take some of these guys that can't bend over to spot the damn ball. Like, what are we doing? Let's go. Come on, fellas.
Yeah, I don't bend over well either. So I think I'll just use the.
Listen, I was keeping that one to whatever. It's like, but they got the hardest job in the sport, dude.
They do. I feel bad. There's not enough of them. They get yelled at by parents, coaches, players. I actually enjoy most of the officials we have. When I say most, like 99% of them, right? I think.
Yeah.
I have a good coaching relationship with the officials. Listen, they're not. I've never seen officials say, "Oh, you know what, coach, you're right. Let me throw that flag for you."
Right. Yeah. Let me change my call.
And my point is, there's no point, right? So I'll send in the film once in a while to the assigner and be like, "Hey, look at play, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to change the call, but just don't mess it up again next week."
Right. Or just at least like, hey, when I'm asking a question, give me like a reason so I can coach my guys to do it the right way. And then from week to week, please have it consistent. Don't do it one game this or one game that. I mean, and look, we could sit here and do it. Like you said, they have the hardest gig in the world. Like, they're hearing it from every other person. There's a reason they park closer to the field and get in and get out real quick, right? Like, it just is the way it is. And there's not a lot of them. Dave, we've had these conversations even from the highest level, where guys like screw up, and it's like, I mean, okay, like, but like, make mistakes are made. I never understood the coach or the guy that's harping on the hold that happened 5 plays ago. Like, dude, what are we doing? Like,
the only
move
thing I
on,
do
bro.
think that officials need to get as a whole, and I think they need more training on this, is to get a little tougher skin, because you know, just the coach.
And you got it bad right now, Dave. You got it bad right now, coaching 9U. Coach, he's coaching his 9-year-old
as
son,
a whole.
man.
But I'm saying as a whole, because I see it so much. They got to get tougher skin in the sense, yeah, that's true. They have to get tougher skin in the sense that, guess what? Coaches are going to be upset when you make a call. Now, if a guy harps on it, okay, you know, throw a flag on him. If he keeps badgering you, you know, up and down the sidelines, I get that. I understand that. There's a point. But like, a guy gets mad at a call, and then there are guys that will literally throw a flag or give you a tack just because you're mad. Like, literally because you're mad that you thought the call was bad. Like, you're supposed to agree with a bad call, in your opinion. That part, I think officials need training on. I think they need better training on the fact that they need to block out the noise. Who gives a smack about if the coach is upset with you? Like, they're probably both going to be upset with you the whole entire game. Like, you're just going to have to get used to it. You're an official. That's your job, right? But some of the guys literally take it personally, like it's attack on their own. Like they don't even know their name half the time. The coaches. I mean, when you've been around a lot and you got the same guys, you get to know them. But for the most part, like you have to be able to have tough enough skin, and it goes all the way up the levels. I see it even in the NFL, right? Like,
oh hell
you
yeah,
gotta have tough enough skin that you can't let the fact that a coach is upset with something be able to all of a sudden you become punitive in your officiating, meaning not just throwing a tech or unsportsmanlike penalty or something like that, but on the sideline, but also in your next call, like looking for a holding because you're mad. Like how many times you see those kind of things happen? Now, there's a lot of great officials who don't do that, but they have to figure out with the guys that struggle with that, how to get them to be able to start to block those things out, because the truth is it affects the game and it's unnecessary. Just like the coach who badgers them is unnecessary. That's unnecessary. And it's unnecessary for them to take it personally if, Coach Seubert goes and says, hey, man, that's a bad call. And then all of a sudden you get a holding call on you the next play because you're angry about the other call. You know what I mean? So
you're right.
That part to me is that has to improve in officiating, because then officials will be more comfortable becoming officials. Right now, it's a situation where guys are leaving the game because they think to themselves, I'm not going to be yelled at. I'm not going to be able to there has to be some training, because there are a lot of people that could be great officials that either don't go into it or don't feel like they're going to get trained to the point where they know how to handle it. Not everybody knows how to handle it. You got to train them
learn
how to handle
like
it.
anything else, and if you want to be good at it, you want to be good in all aspects of it, right? Like some guys I feel like they're good officials, but they cannot be a side judge on the sideline where that coach is right here all day, every day, right? Some guys are better leaders in terms of I can handle the whole thing. So you put on a white hat, buddy, stay in the middle, and you're good. I mean, right. And coach, you just stay out there, brother. And coach, I'm sure you saw it, right, as being an offensive lineman in the interior where most of that stuff is going on and happening, where, look, they could call holding every can play if they wanted to, brother. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, it's a give and take process, and it's that's part of the whole thing. Like some people just don't have what it takes to be that and be badgered and still have a level of, I still have to do my job, even with all of this happening behind me. And like the give and the take, like, come on, man, like, pull your pants down over your knees, bro. Like, what do they see on Sundays, dude? What do they see on Saturday? Like, let's worry about holding instead of whether my man's knees are covered or not. Like, come on.
Eye black and knees. Like I said, how about the kids just sign a waiver saying if my knees get hurt, it's on me, not on you.
It's on me, 100%. Like, if I want to put the eye black, like I'm fucking Braveheart out here, dude. Like, leave me alone.
Like they do it in every other sport. Lacrosse kids can paint their faces, right? Like football, they're like one line, can't go across the nose. I'm like,
yeah.
Does it matter? Does that affect the game?
Yeah. No,
so listen,
right. I say it all the time. Look, you want to wear your whatever chain that costs all that money? Well, then you know what, dude? Like, so-and-so is going to rip it off Michael Crabtree. Sorry, brother. Like, figure your shit out. Like, it just, there's so many things. And then my biggest gripe, and this is really all it is just consistency. Like, please. And look, okay, I'll figure it out on the first series. If you're calling that a hold this week, all right, boys, this is whatever. But it just makes coaching that much harder, because you might be harping on, hey, man, if you're on the edge, like if you're out on the edge as a receiver and you're trying to stalk or get in front of a guy, like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then you coach them to do it that way. And then in the game, oh, that's a hold. All right, well, last week it wasn't a hold. So you know what? Now we got to like work on the fly here. Just please be consistent. That's all I ask.
Yep, communication and consistency, right? I have two refs. Real quick story, and I got to go. I got to get back in the trees. I have two referees. Communication, right? It's all communication. This year, the referee blew the whistle early. Like, it was on a punt. I don't know, but we got the ball back, but it wasn't our ball because he blew the whistle. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, you what? I'm like, I don't think I swore at him, but I was like on him, right? And he turned to me and he goes, "Coach, I apologize. I fucked up." And I'm like, "All right,
thank you."
Thank you. That's all I needed.
That's it.
You admitted that you fucked up. I'm good. Second one was a couple years ago. We played Morris Knowles with the triple option, right? And we said if the quarterback is going down the line of scrimmage, you hit the quarterback as hard as you can hit him. You hit him. Referee throws a personal foul on my D tackle because he hits the quarterback carrying out his fake. And I go, he's not a defensive player. He's carrying out his fake. He's live.
Right.
I had that ref 2 weeks later. The ref came up to me and he goes, "Coach, I apologize. I watched the film. From my angle, I could tell he didn't have the ball, but from the D lineman's angle, he can't tell." He goes, I shouldn't have called that. I'm like, "Thanks for being honest. I appreciate it."
You're right.
That, in my mind, that was better than never admitting that they were wrong, right?
100%.
I'm wrong all the time coaching. And I'll tell my kids, "Hey, I fucked up. I made a bad call. I should
have
have done this, done that." Like, it's on me, right? But that's just being a man, and that's just becoming better. But listen,
phenomenal.
I have to get my little ass up in the tree stand and get some venison because beef is so expensive.
Coach, appreciate you, brother.
We'll see you soon, Coach. Have a great day.
Yeah,
go get one.
Yeah, man.
Bye. That was great.
Awesome.
I like some venison. That was tasty.
I mean, look, I give him credit. Like look, a lot of guys don't get into coaching, right? When they play, just because you play at a high level doesn't make you a good coach, right? Like I feel like those things don't exactly go hand in hand, where I feel like a lot of people think that, but coach does it, he does it the right way. His program and his kids represent that type of gritty, Wisconsin, I guess, offensive line type of play. And he's really done a lot of good things. We've had some of his players, that have played for us on our club teams, and they're always like, they're not just good players, but they're great kids and all that kind of stuff. Like, phenomenal, right? And I think that's what you want in a high school coach. And I'm sure a lot of people get enamored with, oh, he played in the NFL, and or the other way and said, well, he played in the NFL. Why can't we blah, blah, blah? Like, he plays that line very well. And I like a lot of his points are, just got to believe, you got to buy in. Like that's all part of it. You know what I mean? And that type of stuff. He talked about shorter practices, technology, he ran through the gamut. He gets it. And like the recruiting thing, like, yeah, it all sucks. It's part of it. It does. It sucks.
It absolutely is. It's interesting. I didn't know that his son moved from Rutgers. I didn't know that. But it's
we're talking about that a little bit off air, right? Like, I thought that he had done that, right? Because I know and I love that let's not call it a mistake, but he allowed his kid to make that choice in terms of, I want to be, look, I'm willing to go be a PWO, right? Semester of an experience, and then, hey, Dad, guess what? Like, you were right, But he allowed that
to listen to your kids a little bit. That's the other thing I think that it is hard, but I think it's important. I try to do it, and sometimes I have to check myself on that. Like, I'll think something isn't great. My kid says he likes it. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter what I think, right? Does not matter. It really doesn't matter. Like, I mean, unless he wants to do the wrong, like, not, I mean the wrong thing, like sports, right? But like doing the wrong thing. Yes,
we get it.
That.
Yeah,
but
like, nobody, you can't do that. That's illegal. Like,
that's
let me cut this off right here, dude. Like,
no, you're not.
No,
doing that.
Like, you can't do that. But I give it, especially
listen to your kids. It's important.
It's amazing. Like, I don't know. I'm a new parent, right? Like, my daughter is going to turn, 16 months tomorrow, but I just have a certain, like, she's going to make her own choices. And as a parent, I'm not going to be the one to force her to do anything, right? I'm just going to trust that. I
want this cut. I want this exact
moment. Right now, dude. Like, listen, like, it's going to be a very, like, I'm just going to, like, hopefully I've raised her the right way to make the right choices and do the right things. And ultimately, like you said, like, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. Right. Like, and they have the access to do it. So I give him a lot of credit. And look, it's awesome to hear a story about a guy, like, a kid who you're undersized, you're whatever. He went to Rutgers for a semester. Now he's at East Stroudsburg, starter, killing it. They just lost in the playoffs, but like, the kid's playing and he's enjoying it. And he's realized that. That's like a maturity thing, like on and off the field, that I wish some of our guys would catch up with. But like you said, sometimes you have to go through the fire to figure out that it's really hot.
That's a great point. Ooh, I like that one. Yeah, go through.
Like, I'm burnt. Oh, damn. And I hope he gets a damn deer.
Maybe one day he'll invite.
Could you imagine that group chat with his giant offensive line guys? Could you imagine that? Chris Snead, David Deal, O'Hara. Like, dude, come on, bro. Like that. What's flying in that group chat is when we talk about locker room talk. Like, keep those messages, buddy. But that's awesome. You have that with some of your guys. I have that with some of my guys who I played with. And these guys that jump from school to school to school, I don't know if they have that, dude. Like, they might have that NIL money, but that's a lonely world.
Some of the kids may not. So that's the one thing about how society evolves a little bit.
They don't care.
I don't know if all of them care.
Really? That's what I'm saying. They don't care. I got 5 cars, and
there are some of these kids, and I got to jump off. But some of these kids look at it as like just more friends in my friend group. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm serious. Like, they like having a lot of friends. Now when you get older, that becomes less of a thing. But I think I know it sounds crazy, you know what I'm saying? But like, oh, now I have this group of friends over here, and I have this group of friends over here. Like, I just think they think about it a little bit differently.
It's like a numbers game. It's like, how many clicks, how many likes can I get?
Yeah, I'm in this click and I'm on this click, and it's like,
how many friends can I get? Like, dude,
I don't know. We don't think that way, but that's kind of I just see like how some of the kids they like it. You know what I mean? They do like it. Like,
and also different. I feel like Troy's age, right? Like that middle school-ish, early high school, that really matters. Like, your friends matter, right? Like, you're trying to be in the cool group or whatever. This is my basketball group. This is my baseball group. This is my football friends. This is my private school friends. These are my public school friends. Nope. These are my friends from the place when I go on vacation. Like,
I think a lot of kids are like that now.
You remember, it was hard for us to have that because we couldn't just shoot a text, dude.
Correct.
Like, we couldn't just message them social media. Like, we had to like pick up a phone, like, hello, Mrs. So-and-so, is Tommy home? And they have the ability to, like, bro, they can sit there and FaceTime with each other, and that is like hanging out. Like, they're playing video games with each other while sitting at home.
Video games, Derek.
We didn't do that. We had to get together, and Nintendo 64 had 4 controllers coming out of it, and we were shoulder to freaking shoulder, dude, like gaming it up in somebody's basement with Napster playing. Let's go. Like,
if me and you wanted to play together, we could be.
Hey man, let's go.
Talking, playing.
You could have a friend in California, dude, and you could see him, know what he looks like, hang out with him. Like,
we don't need this for me. It's weird for me, but they love it. And
look, we loved weird, like, things that our parents were like, that's weird shit. Like, we liked it too. They're like, so it's just, dude, it's how life works. It's crazy.
Right. No, there's no.
All right, man.
All right. I'll talk to you later, bro. Great one.
All right. Go later.